Всех приветствую! Сегодня у нас в подкасте в рамках Всемирного дня креативности очень интересная тема. Сегодня у нас международная экспертиза касательно в целом креативных и культурных индустрий. Сегодня у нас в гостях программный директор по вопросам культуры ЮНЕСКО Филипп Деланж. Модерировать сессию будет член правления Айка Реми. Добро пожаловать в нашу студию. Айка, я предоставляю слово вам.
Hi everyone. Today we really have indeed a very interesting guest, the representative of UNESCO, the United Nations organization that deals with education, science and culture. And all of these spheres are intertwined and very important for the development of any economy. So Philippe, very welcome. Could you please share a little bit about your background, about UNESCO and your experience, of which you have a vast amount?
Thank you very much, Aika. So indeed, my name is Filipp Delange. I am working here in Kazakhstan regional office for UNESCO as the head of the culture unit. I am an archaeologist myself, and I have been working with UNESCO for over 30 years now. So UNESCO cultural sector is basically organized around 6 conventions. I am not going to go too much into detail, but only raise the conventions which are important to us. And actually this is very timely because I got the news this morning that yesterday there was a government session with the Prime Minister underlining the importance of the working together with UNESCO, where 2 major conventions were mentioned, very important to the government, namely the UNESCO 1972 Convention or the World Heritage Convention. There is 3 sites listed under the culture site on the World Heritage list for Kazakhstan. I think everybody will know these. Is of course the mausoleum in Turkestan. There is the site of Tamgali, and there is the multi-nomination site of the Shangan Tian Shan. I also mentioned the importance of the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention, which is the UNESCO 2003 Convention, under which are inscribed Novruz, the falconry, also multinational nominations, and Ortega, and a few others. There's actually 14 elements listed. So these are 2 very important conventions which enlighten Kazakh and regional culture. There is another convention which is very important to us, which is the 2005 Convention. This is a convention for the protection and the promotion of the diversity of cultural expressions, which has not been ratified, contrary to the 2 conventions that I just mentioned. The 2005 Convention is not ratified by the Kazakh government. And it is a very important convention because it completes, if you want, the 1972 Convention and the 2003 Convention. So if I may, I would like to give a small presentation on this important convention. So, as I said, it is the 2005 Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions. Now, what is it about? It is, of course, a legally binding international agreement, just like the other conventions of UNESCO. But this one reaffirms the right to adopt policies and to support the emergence of dynamic and strong cultural and creative industries, ensures artists and cultural professionals to enjoy a broad range of cultural goods, services, and activities and the exchange of them, and reinforces organizational structure that have a direct impact on the cultural values, if we would like. So this is a very important convention, and here I actually put on the screen the three conventions I was mentioning, and I am going to take the third line. I'm not going to go into all the details, but just take the third line. So 1972 convention, the major stakeholders, as you can see, local, regional, national government authorities. For the 2003 convention, there is added, if you want, the communities and individuals maintaining living intangible heritage. And then, as you can see, added on top of all this, for the 2005 convention, is the public, private, and civil society stakeholders in culture, artists, professionals working in cultural industries. So the 2005 convention, if you want, completes, in a sense, the conventions of 1972 and 1973 and 2003, sorry. So the 2005 convention is a convention that provides a strategic framework for action, and that requires governments, but also not governmental actors, to work together and to achieve 4 goals. And I've put them here on the screen. It is the support for sustainable systems and governance for culture, achieve a balanced flow of cultural goods and their exchange, integrate culture in sustainable development, and promote human rights. So, as I said, I was working for UNESCO for over 30 years. And before arriving in Kazakhstan, I was working at the regional office of Abuja. And there, the government ratified the 2005 convention, but did not really implement it. So we tried to sit down with the government and see how government and private sector, public sector could sit together and implement the 2005 convention. Now, we had, I would say, 3 major successes. The first one was the adoption of a joint position paper, and I think very important for Kazakhstan also to understand it. It was really the first time that government and non-government actors came together and came up with this joint paper. I'm not, again, going to go into detail because this is going to take us too far. But I think that the first 2 points here, jointly signed by the government in Nigeria and the public-private sector. The first one is strengthen the protection of intellectual property and copyright. I think that is also a very important issue for artists, creatives in Kazakhstan. And the second one is provide financial and infrastructural support to micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises. I think this is also very true or very interesting for what is happening at this stage in Kazakhstan. And then there are a few others, explore and exploit collaborations at the international level. Of course, that is one of the advantages once the 2005 convention is ratified. Establish a national creative industries development fund, which is being established, and establish the Nigerian creative support portal, design, promulgate, and effectively implement cultural and creative industry friendly policies. So these are some of the agreements that were made in Nigeria, and I think which are very interesting, again, very interesting examples for Kazakhstan. Then the second point, which helped or was helped through the ratifying of the 2005 convention and the sitting together of public sector and government, was the further development of a cultural policy, including cultural and creative industries. And I think it's the same for Kazakhstan, where a culture policy is in place, but where a lot could be done in terms of creative culture and creative industries. So a little bit on the screen, elaborating on the what the cultural policy actually does, analyzes and understands cultural life, cultural values, cultural needs, affirms authentic cultural values, builds up on the national cultural identity, but also affirming the cultural identities of different ethnic groups in the country, development of cultural infrastructure, and as a last point, the establishment of links between culture and education, which of course is very important. UNESCO also being the international UN organization for culture, education, and science. So education for us is very important. A last point I wanted to raise, which was successful in Nigeria, was then in line with the 2005 convention, the launch of the Africa Fashion report, launched by our Director General, Madame Audrey Azoulay, in October 23. So quite a holistic approach in Nigeria, which I would, advise somehow to Kazakhstan. So that would be my, introduction on the UNESCO 2005 convention and its importance and its link or possible link better to Kazakhstan.
Mm-hmm. Well, indeed, we have a lot of common points here, and even more than Nigeria, Kazakhstan is the export country, so culture export is key for us because, you know, different from Nigeria, we're only 20 million people, and Nigeria is a much larger market, but even they are thinking about expanding and exporting. And for that, of course, you need the government to work together with the private and public sector. And your experience in Nigeria is, I think it's instrumental to us, and we're very lucky to have you because your advice definitely is so handy. And I'm really glad that you met with the Prime Minister. So what was their vision in terms of cultural policy and developing creative creative industries? Because we hear that the government is supporting it and has plans to invest, and we're just waiting for the fund to support the cultural creative industries open in June this year, just in a couple of months. So what was the feedback of our government? Since we wanna hear how they look at it and how the convention could be instrumental. Do they foresee ratifying it in the near future? I mean, of course, it's up to us, but did they share their view?
Well, let me go back to my presentation. And let me also clarify that I was not present at the government session. There was an internal government session which was published on the website of the Prime Minister. So in the website, there is an indication of what the government considers important. But before that, I would like to put a little slide on the screen, which illustrates how this 2005 convention could actually serve the government of Kazakhstan. And so, in the corner left up, government can set global agendas and can invoke the convention when negotiating exemption clauses for cultural goods, for instance, can legitimately adopt domestic policies and measures for creation, production, and distribution of cultural goods, which is, of course, very important, and then benefit in general from UNESCO's capacity development and technical assistance. Now, why could it be important for the artists and cultural professionals? Well, they could of course benefit from a greater mobility, work in an environment where there is respect for artistic freedom. I was mentioning earlier on the intellectual property rights, and then they could also advocate for better policies. Now, entrepreneurs and the private sector could also benefit from this and benefit from a solid institutional regulatory framework, benefit from assistance programs and measures, and benefit from an increased market access. And then in general, I would say that the civil society could contribute to the discussion, of course, submit funding requests to the International Fund for Cultural Diversity, which is under the umbrella of UNESCO, but it could also give access to other funding possibilities, such as the ICF of the World Bank, which is really a great fund, and with a lot of possibilities. Could gain skills and competencies needed to participate in policy making, which I think is also very important, and then rely on international networks. So you can see that there is actually, for all partners involved, quite a bit of benefits to be gained from this convention. Now, what came out of the meeting yesterday and what was published on the site of the Prime Minister, I think very important to retain a first point for everybody, but then especially for us, I think as UNESCO, education and youth. Youth will have to take it further. It's a very important component. And so it states that young Kazakhs record folklore podcasts, create modern interpretations of folk costumes, and are drawn to Kazakh symbols, music, and sport. It also emphasized that the government will constantly provide full support. So there you have the support of the government, which is, of course, for us very, very welcome. Then there are data and statistics, which are very important. And again, the message states that together with the Ministry of Digitalization would be the creation of digital cognitive products on UNESCO-listed sites and elements. Of course, this would then also be the case for sites and elements that would be listed in the future. And as a last one, popularization, and there I think is really very important, especially in connection to the 2005 convention. It says that the Ministry of Culture, together with Akimats, would carry out on a permanent basis information and awareness raising work on the promotion and propaganda of cultural values in Kazakhstan. Now, the 2005 convention, as the other conventions, are quite a bit about cultural values. And so we reckon that besides the ratification of the 2003 and 1972 conventions, that it would be very important, not only for the government, but also for civil society, that the government could, in a way, ratify this 2005 convention. So that is what I would have to say about the meeting that happened yesterday and the importance of the 2005 convention to Kazakhstan.
Mm-hmm. So it seems that the 2005 UNESCO Convention offers a 360 degrees of all the stakeholders that have different interests and get different benefits, and actually they contribute all in their diversity and different formats, and it makes sure that we have a sustainable infrastructure and ecosystem to promote and protect the diversity of cultural expressions. And of course, it, we are a country of big heritage, but we are still unknown. So I really hope that our lawmakers will ratify it as soon as possible, because it's been already 20 years that we've been waiting for this. And I really hope that when we ratify, it will actually be implemented, because as you rightly said, that of course ratification and implementation are two diverse things, and we hope that we will actually, like Kazakhs say, not only with the name, but also with the thing, with the content. So not only ratify, but actually do the deeds and implement it. Thank you so much, Philip. It was really educational for us, and it was always it's always enlightening for us to hear from UNESCO. And I hope that our cultural and creative industries community will be studying all the conventions in more detail, and we will be able to have more conversations like that. With that, I'd like to again congratulate everyone with World Creativity and Innovation Days, and thank you, Philip, and the whole team of UNESCO Almaty for being our partner and participating in this conversation.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you so much.